the whiteboard. Many students love to use the whiteboard, which is great because many teachers will ask you to use the whiteboard. It's actually very simple. It's actually more convenient than if you were to write on a physical whiteboard or a physical chalkboard. Doing it online, doing it in our Collaborate room is actually much easier. So we're going to learn how to use the different tools that we need in order to make everything work. All right, so once your teacher turns on the settings that allow you to use the whiteboard, you will see this bar of icons, okay? And these are all the tools you will ever need to do what you need to do on the whiteboard. And we're not going to go in order necessarily. We're going to go in order, I suppose, of importance or of what you'll be using mostly. So we're going to start with this simple typing tool. Okay, so if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and you see that letter A, or you might see this A with the lines. It looks like a paragraph has been written, okay? You can choose either one of those, okay? So whichever you see there, when you click on it, you'll get both options, okay? And then you can choose either one. They're essentially going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pick the single A. I'm going to move my cursor over to the whiteboard, click again, and write my message. All right, so I have now written on the whiteboard. And I can get fancy if I want to. If you look down here, I can change my color. I can change my font type or my font size. So maybe I want to be a little bit unique. I want to stand out. So I'm going to change my color. I'm going to make my hello a little bit bigger and move over to the whiteboard and place my cursor. And now I like my hello so much better. Okay, I like it so much better. It's prettier, it stands out more, it's more welcoming. So I don't need that one I already did. I need to get rid of that one I already did. So what I can do is I go to this top icon, this top tool. Okay, it's a square with the arrow in it. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to move my cursor over to what I want to get rid of, what I want to erase. This is like using my eraser on the whiteboard or the chalkboard. So I've clicked on that square with the arrow. I've moved over to what I want to erase. I click on it, and you'll see a box comes up around it, and I'm just going to delete it. Nice and simple and not as dirty, right? No chalkboard dust, no messy ink stains all over the whiteboard. All right, now that's all and well and good for me to get rid of something I don't want there, but what if you have to move something? My teacher said, please put hello underneath the welcome sign, and I accidentally put it on top of the welcome sign or above the welcome sign. I need to erase it. Well, it's no big deal because it's just hello, right? It's just like a few letters that I typed. Didn't take me very long. So I could erase it and then just rewrite it where I need it to go. But what if I just wrote a big long paragraph or a big answer to a question and now I have to start from the beginning? I don't. Okay, nice thing about Collaborate. I can use that same tool, that square with the arrow inside, click on it. Same thing. I move over, I click on hello, because that's what I want to change. And instead of backspacing or deleting it now, I don't want to do that. I still want hello, I just want to move it somewhere else. So I am going to right click and I am going to drag it where I want it to be. So again, I went over to this top tool, the square with the arrow inside. I move to what it is I want to change or erase or move. Click and drag wherever I want it to go. Okay, click and drag wherever my teacher said to put it, right? So my teacher said put it under the welcome sign. So I lift and I'm done. Boom, hello. Okay, and I've made it bigger. I've changed the color. So you can be very creative with what you want to do on the board as long as you're always following your teacher's instructions. All right, so we've learned how to type on the board. We've learned how to move things around on the board. What if I need to show you something specifically on the board and I want to make sure you're looking in the right place? And this could be you too. Maybe your teacher will use this, but you might use it as well. Maybe you're giving a presentation and you have something on the whiteboard and you need to point it out to help everybody understand. So we're going to go back over to our vertical toolbar here. We're going to pick this second icon, which looks like the sun. All right, we're going to click on that, and we have all these choices that come up. I can stay with the sun. I can click on it again, and I can say, hey, everybody, look where I wrote hello. Here's my pointer. Hello, this was me. I'm not too into the sun, so I'm going to change my pointer. How about, I always like to use the arrow, so I'm going to pick the arrow, and then I can say, hello, this is what Mrs. Slater wrote right here. Can you see it by the arrow? Okay, and you have all this different variety. You can do the hand point. You can do a smiley face. Okay, so that second icon down is the pointer. It's what you choose when you want to point something out that's specifically on the screen. All right, so we know how to type, we know how to move things around, and we know how to point things out. Now, another tool you can use is the third one down, your pen tool. And I waited to show you this one because this is a rough one. I don't like to use this one, but I'm sure some of you will be able to use it much better than I am able to use it. It's the same as your typing tool, except you need to use the mouse pad to do it. So that can be difficult to control. So that's why I avoid it, but I'm sure there are students out there who work really well with it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to use that if you choose to do so. Okay, so third icon down, you have what looks like a pen or a pencil. And if you click on that, then you get the opportunity to go ahead and choose that pen or pencil, or you can choose this second icon, which is a highlighter. Okay, just depending on your teacher's directions, if you're asked to use these tools, you just need to pay attention to what you're being asked to use and when to use them. So if your teacher tells you to grab the pencil, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And look, my color and my different options have popped up again. Okay, so I'm going to change the color. I'm going to make this one, this one's going to be red because this is going to stand out because, again, I am not fabulous at the pen tool, right? Because I need to click on the board where I want to start when I'm writing, and then I have to hold that down while I drag. Ooh, and look how slow. It's not too bad, but it's taking me a long time because I find it very difficult to control. Okay, it's getting worse and worse, so we'll do it real fast. It's getting worse and worse. Okay, so that's how I would use the pen tool. And then my teacher says, highlight what you wrote. So I gotta click back over on this pen tool, grab my highlighter. I can change the color of my highlighter if I'd like. How about, let me go with a light blue. That'll look beautiful with my red, right? And I'm going to highlight what I wrote. Again, I don't have a whole lot of control. Okay, so you can see why I avoid the pen tool. So if I have the choice, I type. If I don't have a choice, I do my best, right? But I know where they are. I know how to find them. I know how to use them. Okay, now I'm looking at that going, I don't like, my teacher didn't make me highlight it. I just highlighted it, but it's not looking too good. So which tool do I use to fix that all up? Very good. You use that top tool with the square and the arrow, click on it, drag it over to what I want to get rid of. Okay, and hopefully I'm making sure that I'm getting rid of the highlighting versus what's being written or what has been written. So I always like to move it first just to make sure I grab the right thing. I did, so let me get rid of it. Highlighting gone, right? Highlighting out of here. I just deleted it. I didn't have to erase anything. It was nice and simple. Okay, so now I know how to type. I know how to write, highlight, and move or delete. And I also know how to point things out with my pointer, right? All right, so just a couple more things to do on the whiteboard. So far, hopefully you found it pretty easy. So just a couple more things we need to look at. Tools you might not use quite as often, but you just never know, especially depending on what class you're in. All right, so if you go about halfway down, right under that A, you see a solid square and you see an open square. Okay, when you click on either one of those, you'll also get a circle option. So if you, for some reason, you need to put a circle or a square on the board, perhaps maybe you need to do something for math class, or maybe your teacher says to circle something on the board and you can do that using your pen, or you can do that by using these icons. Okay, so you just never know whenever you might come to a time where they're useful for you. All right, so I'm going to select the square, the closed square. Now it gives me a choice of colors because you see how it's grayed in, that square is all gray. I can change that color. It's going to turn out black automatically. If I change the color, I can choose what else I want it to be filled in with. So I'm going to fill it in with purple. Okay, so I'm going to put the square up in the corner. So I click on my whiteboard and then I drag across my mouse pad until I get the square, the size, the length, the width, whatever that I need it to be. Okay? Beautiful square. Much easier to do than doing it by hand, right? I can do the same with a circle, but this time I'm going to do the open circle because I want to circle my name. So I'm going to go down to the open square, click, I get my choice. Do I want to use that circle square? This time I'm going to use the circle. I need it to be open because I'm going to circle my name. I need to know what's there. I'll go ahead and I'm just going to leave it black. Okay. I'm going to move my cursor over to the whiteboard, click where I need it to go, and then drag my circle out. All right. Now it could be moved over a little bit, stretched out a little bit. So I'm going to grab my select tool, move over to that circle because I need to stretch it out a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that until I get it the size I want, or if I want to move it up or move it down or whatever the case may be. Okay, so once again, I've used that select tool. So you can see why that select tool is so awesome, because now I didn't need to erase my name and the circle because I messed up the circle. Now I can just move around what I need to move around. One more thing that you might find important or you might find useful would be that square, or I know my shapes. Okay. One more thing that you might find useful or helpful, especially in math class, or maybe even in another class where you're being asked to maybe put something on the left and something on the right, and you use a line because you want to separate the two. Okay, instead of drawing that line, which we know can be a little shaky, it might be easier to grab that tool. So we're going to go a little bit further down on our toolbar and select that line. I can change the color if I would like to, like I have in the past. Go ahead and I'll just leave it black, keeping it simple. I need to separate the top of the board from the bottom of the board. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a line across there to make that separation. So I bring my cursor over to the whiteboard. I click where I would like my line to start, and I drag my mouse across. See, it's a good thing I'm not writing this with the pencil, right? Because my line is everywhere. Okay, so I'm dragging across as long as or as short as I want the line to be. I can make it diagonal, making it go up. I can make it go down, wherever I want to put a straight line. Once I have the line where I want it, I just let go, and voila, my line is there. Need to change your line up? What do you grab? You grab that tool where you can move things around, that select object tool. So I'm going to go back up to that select object tool, bring it down and click on my line because I just want to move it down just a touch more. I just like it better there, right? And then maybe I need Tom to put his information on one side of the board and Joe to put his information on the other side of the board. And Tom and Joe, they're getting their stuff all mixed up. So Tom says, I'm going to put a line down the middle so our stuff will stay separate. So Tom grabs that line. He goes to where he wants to start the line and clicks. And then he drags the line down, because he wants there to be a line down the middle of the page so that now Joe and Tom can go ahead and write what they need to write without running into each other. Okay, so to write, it's probably going to be easier for them to use the typing tool, but again, it's the choice of the student and remember the teacher. The teacher has to be able to read what you wrote, and you just want to always make sure you follow your teacher's instructions if she tells you to use a certain tool or a certain color, whatever the case may be. So Joe's going to grab his typing tool. He's going to use that A, and he's going to come over and he's just going to type, this is my side, this is Joe's side. Okay, and Tom decides he's going to title his as well, but he's going to change his color. Maybe he's going to make his purple. Okay, so then Tom would bring his cursor to his side, click, and write his name, if I could spell his name. There we go. Okay, so we've got this dividing line. Let me grab my, what can I use to show you what I want you to look at specifically on the board? I'm going to grab my pointer. So the second icon down, I'm going to grab my pointer. I'm going to use, I'll use the arrow. Okay, so now I can point out that this is Joe's side and this is Tom's side. So now you know how to use the whiteboard tools. You can write freehand on the board, you can circle things, you can underline things, type, move things around. So it should be much easier for you to go into your classroom already feeling good about what you know, so that when you go into math, you can just focus on getting that math problem done and not worrying about how to put that math problem on the board. Right? No stress. So you can always come back to this video to help you out, to give you a little bit of a reminder how you work the whiteboard.